Felicitations, adventurers! Welcome to Roll for Felicity. I'm here doing some character creation with Troll Mila, who, if you have been on this channel before, you're already familiar with them. Hello, Sierra. I love the hype. Oh, is that your hype emote? Oh, that's so cute. I really like that. But hello, Sierra. We are going to be, oh, and Melanie! The gang's all here. We are going to be doing character creation for a game called Briar and Bramble, which I'm very excited to play, and I think it'll be really up the alley of people who watch Roll for Felicity, because obviously Mouser is a game that we have played on here a lot, and is a very popular one. And I think everybody likes woodland creatures. A lot of us have pets. And this is a game all about woodland creatures, kind of in the realm of Watership Down. So it can be a little bit gritty. We'll see how this one shot ends up being. That's one of the things we're going to be talking about. But I'll get into that more after I let Mila introduce themselves, for anyone who hasn't met them before. Mila, what's your whole deal?
I don't know about my whole deal. Hi everyone, I'm Mila. I'm around this channel a whole lot. I use they, them pronouns. I run my own Twitch channel, Troll Mila, where I want to say I'm a variety streamer, but honestly, I play Kingdom Hearts. I play a lot of Kingdom Hearts.
You play a variety of Kingdom Hearts.
That is true. That is true. And then I was also trying to get through Ni no Kuni, the first one, but my computer did not really let me do much. So we're going to actually start from the whole beginning once I start streaming again. Yeah, that's basically me. And I also have a rabbit who you can't see, but you can see her toys. Thank you, Melanie.
And I do have, so I put in, because there's other people who are going to be playing on Saturday, I put in everyone's socials, but Mila is our first. So if you're not already following them, you can follow them on Twitter, at TrollMila, and on Twitch, twitch.tv/TrollMila. Yes, I know, I can't wait for Mila to get back to playing Kingdom Hearts.
Me too.
Get your internet, get all that in order so we can watch you play Kingdom Hearts.
I think it's gonna be this week. I think I'm gonna get back into it this week. I think everything's good. I have an Ethernet cable. Like, I'm ready.
That's great. That's
old school.
It's good to we're gonna be good to go. Cool. Okay, so I guess I'll talk a little bit about the game that we're going to be playing. First of all, this is going to be my very first sponsored stream. The writer of Briar and Bramble approached me and said, hey, I want to give you some money to run this game on stream, which is interesting because I actually was planning on running it anyway at some point, but it kind of pushed me to a little bit more quickly because this game is currently on Kickstarter. So you can get the this stream specifically, the character creation stream, I guess is not technically sponsored, but the one shot will be. And now playing, which just for transparency, that money I'm paying directly to the participants of the stream, because one of my goals eventually for Roll for Felicity is that all participants, I'll be able to pay something more than just like the tips that they get for the stream. So if you want to play this game, even before I've described anything about it, you can currently get it on itch, and it's pay what you want. It's a really good game. Like, it's very, honestly, so, Freddie, I'm always concerned I'm gonna get someone's name wrong, but I believe it's, yeah, Freddie Taylor Bell, who wrote this game, currently, in my opinion, is underpriced, because you can get it, there's no minimum amount, and it's like a full-fledged game. Like, this isn't just, I don't want to say just, this is more than like a one-page RPG that like someone would put on Twitter or something like that and just be like, oh, it's whatever. This is like a game. And so you can pick it up, pay what you want on itch, and there's a link in chat. But also, it's on Kickstarter right now. And the Kickstarter ends October 1st, I believe. And that is for a print version, it as well as it being fully illustrated. So right now, obviously, you can see on stream on the stream screen this beautiful illustration for the cover. There's going to be more illustration like that through the rest of the book if the Kickstarter is successful. I think they're about halfway to their goal, and it ends in like 9 days or something like that. So get on that, everyone. And as far as the mechanics of the game, I'm kind of scrolling through. It is a Powered by the Apocalypse game. So if you've played, I think probably one of the most popular Powered by the Apocalypse games is Monster of the Week. So if you've played Monster of the Week, or if you're familiar with that, the mechanics as far as rolling dice are similar to that. You roll 2d6, and then, oh, thank you for the follow, Pragmatica. Welcome in. You roll 2d6, and then if you get a 6 or less, that's like pretty bad. If you get 7 to 9, I think that's a mixed success. And if you get a 10 plus, it's very, very good. Obviously, the rules are a little bit more complicated for Powered by the Apocalypse, but that's the main mechanic. I just noticed Melanie put this channel is really sold out now that I think about it. I'm a sellout. I've said so many times that if LaCroix would give me money, I would take them as a sponsor. Or really any sparkling water that I drink a lot of. So bubbly, which is what I'm drinking now. I'm drinking this bubbly bounce. I won't say any more about it unless bubbly gives me money. Where was I at talking about this game? One of the things that I think is really cool about this game is it's very community focused. So where Monster of the Week or D&D or some other games are about like combat and like obviously found family is a huge thing for those games, but it's not like a mechanical part of those games, if that makes sense. Oh my goodness gracious. Welcome Naruto's ugly son. Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in. I'll wait for, okay. I need to make that sound alert a little bit shorter, I think, because I'm always like talking, but I'm like, no one can hear me because it's loud. Welcome, Naruto's ugly son. Yes, that sound effect does get me hyped. Let me give you a shout out. I saw you at live. What were you? Oh, you're playing Apex Legends. That's a game I cannot play. I have to be good at games to play games like that. I'm not good at games. We are doing some character creation and talking about a game that we're going to be playing on Saturday, a tabletop RPG called Briar Bramble. And I was just kind of talking a little bit about that. If you're new to my channel, that's what I do. I mostly play tabletop games and I also play some video games. But what I was just talking about is this game has specific mechanics for the community that the player characters are a part of. Which I will go over to that handout. So right now it's blank because we haven't created this community yet, but the idea behind Briar Bramble is that all the players are woodland creatures in turn of the century England, and have been forced out of their original homes. I think it's up to the narrator, like, what the reasoning is, but I think generally the assumption is it's going to be some sort of, like, human encroachment on the environment, because humans in this game are, like, they don't have stats, you can't fight them, like, it's pretty much like, you know, like a Titan or something from Attack on Titan. Although I guess they do fight Titans, so maybe that's not the best example. They're like Titans, except you can't fight them. Anytime you get a roll of 6 or less, you can see there's this little, like, pie shape there that's it's called a clock. I don't know why I said that like a clock is like something people wouldn't be familiar. It's called a clock. I don't know if you've heard of it. That's mechanically what they're called in the game, is a harm clock or a conflict clock. So you tick off one of the pie shapes in this conflict clock, and then whenever you get a full pie, I guess, you subtract 1 from the harmony stat. And if the harmony ever gets to -1, the entire community could fall apart. It could just succumb to like inter-community conflict, which I really like that as a game mechanic. I don't know of other games that have something that specific. I think as far as mechanics, that's the main thing I'm going to talk about now, because I want to get into finding out what kind of creature Mila is wanting to play. So let me scroll down to the character creation. For the first thing. And I guess the first thing, I do remember this, the first thing I'll ask Mila is, do you have an idea for, like, the kind of character you want to play? Not necessarily the playbook, but, like, personality or, like, community role or what type of animal you want to be, that kind of thing. Do you have anything in mind for those?
I did kind of use the playbooks to kind of like create something, and I want to be a weird.
Oh, nice! That's awesome! I really was hoping someone would pick weird, but I didn't want to message you all and say, hey, someone pick weird. So I'm glad.
Yes, and I want to be a porcupine. And I found a very specific photo of a porcupine that I want to be, and this porcupine looks like it's seen things.
Oh my god! If you tweet a picture of the porcupine, I will retweet it so that people can see what you're talking about. It is this porcupine has seen some stuff, and some stuff on the character or the weird page. I was like, yes, this is the porcupine for this. It knows what's up. And so just kind of thinking that like old, like kind of the weird person that lives in town, but like on like the fringe. Okay.
And everyone is kind of like nice to, but also like they kind of like hold on to their children like a little bit of being like,
something's not
it's like
quite
just
right.
Very, yeah, just very nice, but also like not like entirely there, mainly in a way of like not really subscribing to like societal rules and that kind of thing, where like this character will just be like, yeah, I saw you're gonna do this, and they're like, no thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so the playbook of the weird is the reason why I really wanted someone to play this playbook is because this is kind of the rules as they are is like kind of low magic, but the weird, I say kind of because like people can really, you know, play games however they want to, but the weird is a playbook that specifically is like kind of magical, mystical, can see into the future, and yeah, just like I since I'm running this game and it's a game that a lot of people aren't familiar with, I was really hoping someone would play the weird because that shows off something that's a little bit like different than some of the other playbooks. And I'm trying to get as many different kind of things that are in this game as I can, for, you know, since it's just a one shot. So yeah, I really I love that idea. Do you, and if the answer is no, that's fine. Do you have a name and or pronouns for your character?
not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Cool. Let me pull up the playbook for the weird. Playbooks. Nice. Okay, so yes, that's on screen. Oh, and Melanie also shared in chat a video of a porcupine eating little pumpkins, which I am going to have to look at. And also, let me retweet this. Oh my goodness! This porcupine! Okay, so I retweeted it, so you can see this porcupine picture on Twitter, on Mila's Twitter, and also on my Twitter. So either at troll_Mila, or at Roll for Felicity. Very good porcupine. So with the weird, I'll just read the description in case, because it is a little bit small probably for people to be able to read on stream. Plagued by confusing visions of things yet to come, your guidance is what keeps the others out of trouble and on the right path, assuming you can interpret the visions clearly. And the move that you automatically get with the weird is a glimpse ahead. When you attempt to peer into the misty visions of the future, you roll plus sense, and there are 4 stats. I haven't mentioned the stats at all yet. There are 4 stats: fierce, reflex, sense, and social. So you roll plus sense. On a 10 plus, you saw what danger awaits us in our future. What was it? On a 7 to 9, you saw what danger awaits us in our future, but the vision was hazy. You know there was something more that you couldn't quite see. So that's what you automatically get. Did you have a thought for what you wanted your second move to be?
Yes. Which one was it? I was torn between was this from my sheet? I got to pick an extra one from my sheet, or was it a character or community move?
Oh, it's one you got to pick from your sheet. So okay, either cool. Careful Now, Mystic Council, Intent, Share the Vision, or Storyteller. The community ones we'll do next.
Okay, I was thinking Storyteller because I like the idea of this just kind of like rambling like raccoon, that kind of like war stories, but like not, or like Homer's dad in The Simpsons.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say Homer's Odyssey, like Homer.
Oh no, that would have made sense, but no.
Homer's dad in The Simpsons.
Homer J. Simpson's father. Yeah. It was that or Mystic Council, but I do just for like role playing, like the idea of kind of going on these like rambling folk tales.
I like that too because I like that idea for it because if you make that move but fail it, then it's like good flavor for it to be like, this story isn't helpful. Like either nobody's paying attention or it doesn't pertain to the situation. I like that a lot. Do you want to read the description for the Storyteller, or would you like me to read it so the chat?
Yeah, no, I can definitely do it. When you tell a cautionary folktale that has bearing on the current situation, say what lesson should be learned and roll social, or roll plus social. So on a 10 plus, those who hear your tale will take the lesson to heart. They gain +1 ongoing, so long as they're following the tale's lesson. On a 7 to 9, those who hear your tale will take the lesson to heart. They gain a +1 ongoing as on a +10, but the narrator will give a horrible vision of what is to come.
Nice. This is one of those games where I get to be a little bit nasty. Just because Powered by the Apocalypse games are all like that. Also, hello Sky. This game is very cute. And I feel like it would be one that you would like. It's very like I don't know, like I don't want to say cottagecore because it's also like kind of like it can be like Watership Down. I wouldn't say is cottagecore because I feel like that book like traumatizes people. But the visuals are a more cottagecore, and the game could be that way too. There's also, I cannot remember what, I think this was a book. This is completely an aside. But the other thing this reminds me of is there was a cartoon that was all like woodland creatures, and there was like pollution that was killing them. And I just remember one part of it was like they had to cross this road and like one of them got like hit by a car or something. I can't remember, but it was very like Watership Down-esque. And I think it was based on a book, but I know it wasn't Watership Down because there were cars. I don't think there's cars in Watership Down. I don't know if there's even humans in Watership Down, actually. That's a total aside, but that's the type of story you could tell here. You could tell a story where an animal gets hit by a car.
I also like the idea of being like that kind of like weird like fringe community member too, because like if it fits into rolling poorly, where sometimes it'll be like, oh yeah, that's like very wise and astute of you, and then other times it's like, all right,
what are they talking
anyways
about? Yes. Okay, Sky knows what I'm talking about, so I'm not completely... It wasn't a show, Melanie. I think it was an animated movie. And it was called, like... It obviously wasn't Wind in the Willows, but the title was something kind of like that. And it was like they had to get this mouse's daughter to like the wise owl because of pollution or something. I'll look it up afterwards. I just thought of it. Okay, back to character creation. Something else that I really like about this game. Once Upon a Forest. I think you're right. I think that is the one. That's not really very much like Wind in the Willows, but that is, I think, what I was thinking of. One of the things I really like about this game is I really love games where the mechanics tie in really well with roleplay. So, for example, in this game, the way that your character like levels up is you have like growth criteria. And for the weird, the growth criteria is whenever a prophecy you foretold comes to pass, tick your growth clock, which is this little clover-shaped clock on the screen. Once full, take an advancement and clear the clock. So it incentivizes people to play into like the role play a little bit more, because the criteria isn't like, you know, once you kill this many monsters or whatever, then you level up. It really leans into the role play. And then also, every playbook has a defining moment, which can only happen once per character. Excuse me. And it's different for every character, and it's very story-based. So for the weird, the defining moment is when you foresee your own death and resolve to face it head-on, describe the vision and explain what you plan to do. You get to improve your community's harmony by +1 and clear the community conflict clock. A defining moment can only happen once per character. So every character has a different defining moment, and that fits with like their archetype. I'm going to try to incorporate so that people, at least 1 or 2 players, can hit their defining moments. I'm going to try to write something that like lends itself to that, because I think it's a cool mechanic that I would like people to be able to see during the one-shot. I don't know if I can do it so that all 3 characters hit their defining moments, but ideally, I mean, in a perfect world, that would be happening. Okay, so we have our character concept, we have our playbook. The next thing you get to do is, you get to add a tag to the community. And let me see, does it have it on here? I don't think it has it on here. I think it has it in the rule book. And did I open? No, I did not. Let me scroll to the weird. Oh, it's not letting me open it twice. Okay, that's annoying. Okay, I'm just gonna I'm gonna be scrolling for a second to get to this playbook. Those are their moves. Defining moment. I think the weird is the very last one.
It is.
Not that, not that. The scout. While I'm doing this, I will say, I did character creation with Rosh, who's one of the other players, this afternoon. Here we go, the weird. And he chose the Guardian for his character, who's going to be a ferret, and is kind of, in Rosh's words, like a himbo type, which I'm very excited for. I think that's going to be great. And then Momo I'm doing character creation with after, like, later tonight. But they said, I think they were interested in playing either the scout or the outsider or the sneak, I think. And they're going to be playing a raccoon. If I were playing in this game, I would play a possum 100%, because that's my favorite woodland creature. Okay. Okay, so your harm clock is 4. You automatically get +2 to your sense stat. Okay. So your community tags, you can either pick cautious or strange, and that's something that will apply to the entire community that you're a part of, which depending on, I think there's a tag that's like small or large community tag, so depending on what Momo picks, that'll determine, you know, if they pick like small or large, that'll mean larger or smaller. But I'm thinking like 25 to 50 animals in the community that you all are in. So yeah, do you want your community to be cautious or do you want your community to be strange?
Strange. I have thought about this. I have actually given it some thought. That just seems like I'm just going for it.
Strange.
I went with strange. And I kind of like the idea, like, again, I feel like this is just a weird character, but there's that TikTok trend where you use like a mirror and then it's like to that sound where it's like, I saw a butterfly and it's the sound from like Courtney Here's a Who or something.
I don't know this trend.
Like, it makes so little sense when I'm trying to explain it, but you hold up a mirror and you say it and then you have your one eye drift, but it looks like both of your eyes are drifting because you have a mirror half of your face, so it just goes
So that's
it's
like
it's weird.
You want the entire community to be like that?
Well,
to always
I
have
feel like
mirrors on their faces.
Well, I just feel like that's like the vibe that like I'm giving off, so it'd be like, oh, welcome. And just to make it so people be like, I don't know about these people.
That's good. Yes. So the community move associated with strange is put off others from joining due to a strange aura, which I like. So that means that you're like the strangest of the strange. Because, like, your character is, like, a little bit of an outcast for being strange, but also everyone else in the community is strange to other people.
The weird people think I'm weird.
That's like a Hot Topic shirt, I feel like. The weird people think I'm weird.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's like the normal people scare me, American Horror Story one. Melody in the chat just said, you're going to be a possum when we play Wanderhome, which I am planning to play a possum. We're doing a home game of Wanderhome with Melanie and actually, I think everyone who's in it has been on the stream. Melanie, Tag, Josh, and Ty have all been on the stream, so we're going to be playing, I think that's everyone who's playing, we're going to be playing Wanderhome, and I think I will play a possum.
Fun.
I need to actually look at the rules though, because I really haven't looked at them that much. Okay, cool. So you've got your tag, and then you also get to pick, so you automatically, with your playbook, you get a +2 to, what is the stat called? Oh no, I've lost it. To sense? Is that right? +2 to sense?
Yes.
Okay. Then you get to assign to each other stat a 0, a +1, a -1. Oh my goodness! Welcome, Raiders! Welcome, Lark Network. How's it going, everyone? We're doing character creation for a game called Briar Bramble. Oh, Stella Joe! Hello! Hello! Welcome in. Let me give you a shout out. Do I remember how to give shout outs? Is that how I do it? I haven't streamed in a little bit. Yes, that is how I do it. Oh, no, it's not how I do it. I don't know how to stream. Oh, it's because I said Art Connect Network instead of Lark Network. I'm doing a terrible job. There we go. That's why nothing was coming up. Welcome. Oh, you're playing Dungeons & Dragons. That's awesome. So right now, first of all, my name's Taylor. This is Roll for Felicity. I play a lot of one-shots on this channel. We also do character creation, like behind-the-scenes kind of stuff. And right now, thank you for the follow, Lark Network. Right now we're doing character creation for a game that we're going to be playing on Saturday called Briar Bramble, which is a Powered by the Apocalypse game, where everyone plays woodland creatures at the turn of the century England. Mila, we were just talking about, is going to be playing a character, as of yet unnamed character, who is a porcupine, and is their playbook is the weird, so they can, at some point, perhaps during the one-shot, will see their own death, foresee it, which I'm very excited for and interested in. And what we were just talking about is you have other stats that you need to assign. So you have fierce, reflex, and social. One of them you'll add 0 to, one of them you'll have -1, and one of them you'll have +1. So do you know what your thoughts are on that?
I think I'm going to go with I think I'm gonna go with -1 for social, just because that like tracks.
Makes sense.
I do want to say that this, like, my porcupine does really like their community, and they care about. They probably know too much about their community, and they'll probably be like, "Oh yes, well, like your great grandmother was sick, wasn't she?" And they're gonna be like, "I don't know how you knew that." Like that's kind of like the weird like social where it's like, "Oh, I've just been watching."
Yeah,
like,
I can
really like. Presley involved, really cares about it, but everyone else is just kind of like.
Yes, I really like that a lot. I can relate to that. Also, while you're saying, I will say, if you're not already following Stella Jo, you should absolutely follow her. She has really great content on TikTok and on Twitch. Was just playing Life is Strange, but also plays a lot of Minecraft, which I particularly enjoy. And I don't know if she's been doing it recently, but the way that I first saw her was doing Fantasy High cosplay on TikTok, which of course a lot of my community loves Fantasy High, so it's a great follow. Yeah, okay, so you've got a -1 to social, +2 to sense. What are you thinking for fierce and reflex? One of them you can have a 0, and one of them you can have a +1.
For fierce, I'm thinking just a 0, pretty basic. But for reflex, I'm thinking 1, because I feel like that makes sense to like kind of having a general knowledge of what's coming ahead. Is you should probably be able to like react to things in a timely manner.
Yeah.
I'm like that kind of that made sense to me at the very least.
Yes, that makes sense to me as well. Your harm clock would be 4, I believe, is what I saw. Which when you do growth, I think you can. Oh no, you can't for this one. For some playbooks, when you hit your growth criteria, you can increase your harm clock, but you cannot. You're not very strong. You're easily hurt.
Yes.
And then there's one other thing for character creation that we will not be doing on stream, because you get to pick your relationships with the other player characters, and determine one that you're very close with, one that you don't know very well, and one that you are like acquaintances with, I think is what it is. Oh, Melanie, thank you very much for posting the link to Mila's porcupine inspo, because it's very good. A porcupine who's seen too many things.
I feel like that's the face of a porcupine who's seen its own death.
Yeah, that porcupine has already reached their defining moment where they faced their own mortality. It's terrifying. Very terrifying. Okay, so I think that's everything for your individual characterization. Oh, there is something that you can do, which I think it's up to you, because the rules kind of like implied one thing in one section and implied not conflicting things, but implied kind of different ways that you could do this. So for the community, you picked the tag of strange. If you'd like, you can create an NPC who embodies that community tag, but you could also be that character. So Rosh picked the tag protected, which has a description. This community has a designated protector who makes it less likely that external predators will face it head on. But Rosh is playing the Guardian playbook and was like, I think that character would be me. And in the rules, it gives an example of that. Like, in the character creation, like, rules, it has, like, somebody's creating a hedgehog character, and they pick the leader tag, and they decide that they want that leader tag to apply to, like, themselves specifically. So if you would like to be the reason why this community is weird, or at least the embodiment of that weirdness, which kind of makes sense to me, you can do that. Or if you'd like to have an NPC instead, we can do that as well.
I feel like in my head it's definitely me giving off like the really weird vibes where people are like, maybe we'll find a different community.
Okay, let's see. You're playing. I should actually take notes. Mila is playing a weird porcupine.
In multiple senses of the term weird.
Yeah, weird with a Y and weird with an I-E, I guess. Okay, picked community tag of, was it strange or weird? I'm forgetting.
Yeah, strange.
Strange. Picked community tag of strange. And then could you remind me what you picked for your stats? So I can write it down.
Yes, I picked 0 for fierce, 1 for reflex, 2 for sense, and -1 for social.
2 for sense, -1 for social. Perfect. And your ability was storyteller. What else do I have? Is there a since you're not making an NPC to embody the strangeness of your community, since that would be you, do you have an idea of an NPC who you would like me to incorporate who might be like important to your character? So for example, Rosh came up with a kind of platonic life partner / roommate of a bunny that their character lives with, and kind of said like you can do whatever else you want. Ooh, jeez, whatever else you want with that character, but that's the general idea. Is there anything that you would like for me to incorporate of an NPC for your porcupine?
I think I would like a younger creature who's kind of trying to learn like the old ways, maybe like kind of trying to be more of that like weird like fortune teller member of the society, who just hangs around me a lot, and everyone else is like, why are you why? And they're just like, because they're like smart and they have wisdom, and everyone else is kind of just like, okay.
I love that.
I think I'd want it to be like a smaller, like a chipmunk.
Okay, cool.
I like the idea of a chipmunk, not a like hyperactive squirrel, but I like the idea of a little chipmunk filling its little cheeks with knowledge.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I have to write that down. Chipmunk filling its cheeks with knowledge. Do you have a name in mind for this chipmunk, or would you like me to name the chipmunk?
You can name the chipmunk. I don't even have a name for me yet.
Alright, I will name the chipmunk. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Beep boop boo. I think that's it for character creation. Okay, so the other thing that I thought it would be cool to talk about, because this game has an entire section for it, and it's something that I talk about sometimes for, my Game Master Helper streams, which I just found out, maybe this is just, I'm like stupid and out of the loop. I just found out that Critical Role has a behind the scenes thing that's called Handbooker Helper, and so now I'm like, I really should change my thing, because it's like exactly the same. And I didn't know, I didn't think to look up Handbooker Helper, because it's not something that like I looked up Game Master Helper and didn't think. You told me that in chat before? I did not see that. I was actually kind of surprised that you or Tig didn't tell me, because I don't watch Critical Role. Well, that's on me. So I might have to come up with something else, because it feels like I'm ripping off Critical Role, even though I don't really watch Critical Role and didn't know that they had a very famous thing that's called that. Anyway, in Game Master Helper, I've talked about safety tools before. But this book has examples of player safety, and also there's something that I talked to Rosh about, I'm going to talk to Momo about, I want to talk to you about as well. Because this game is, since all the characters are playing woodland creatures, and we mentioned, Watership Down being an influence, that animals being hurt is like a really common thing that people don't want to interact with. Like, I use lines and veils for player safety, and a lot of times that's like someone's line and or veil is, harm to animals. Generally, people, what they mean by that is like I don't want to say needless, but like there's a difference between playing D&D and like a bear attacks you and you have to fight a bear than like someone killing a small animal for no reason. Generally, the second is more of what people have a problem with, which I also would not want to play a game where people are doing that. But I wanted to talk to you about, and obviously we can talk about this off stream as well. I don't want to like put you on the spot.
Oh no, I'm totally good for this. Yeah.
But yeah, like what your thoughts are as far as what level of that kind of violence you would be comfortable with, or because there are options in the game that like when characters reach the max of their harm clock, they aren't killed, they're just like taken out of the situation, maybe really badly hurt but not killed, that kind of thing. So I guess it's a little bit of an open-ended question, but what are your thoughts on that when it comes to our one-shot?
Yeah, because for me it is usually like a pretty like hard line where like I am the person, I have not seen I Am Legend because I know what happens to the animals, and I will very much avoid things that show like harm to creatures. I'm also like, there's children's ones that like I won't watch, so I'm usually like, that's usually pretty like hard for me. But for this, we're like, we are the animals, I feel a lot different, where I'm kind of like, for this I'm a lot more comfortable with like, what would you throw at like, you know, if I was playing a tiefling in D&D or something, you know, there's a possibility for my character to die. And so it is quite a bit different in this game than I think it is in like most games, because it's not just like a cute fuzzy, you know, creature that like I'm upset in Final Fantasy 14 because they keep making me kill like at the beginning, like the little like squirrels and stuff. And I'm like, this is so unnecessary.
Yeah.
But like for right now, like, you know, I'm probably like, I might be attacked by another animal, like all that kind of stuff. So it's more just like a normal game of like D&D, even though we're playing animals. So anything that I think you would throw at like, you know, a dwarf or an elf or something, I would be okay with in this game, because it's, you can't really have this game without animals being like that. I submitted my lines and veils to you, and immediately after I'm like, we're all animals. I don't know how this would work with my normal like lines and veils,
yeah,
but
and like
I recognize it's not gonna be the same.
Right. Well, and also I told Rosh this, I don't think I've mentioned it on stream yet, but I actually haven't even written the one shot yet, because I wanted to know what characters everyone was playing. I wanted to know what the community was going to be like. I wanted to know what people's defining moments were, so that I could incorporate that in like as a part of the story. So like if you, or like, you know, later on I'm talking to Momo, if either of you would have like a thing where you're like, I really don't want there to be violence, like I want it to be like something else because I'm not comfortable with violence towards animals, even if we're playing those animals, like I think this game you can work with that. Like the inspiration for the game is more like of the Watership Down, Redwall kind of like animal violence, but I don't think it needs to be played that way. And actually part of the rulebook addresses this. Like actually I think before you even get into character creation or anything, it talks about player safety. And says, describing violence against animals is often far worse and far more evocative than describing a knight slaying another knight. It needs to be handled as delicately as everyone at the table requires it to be. And goes on to that. And the end of this says, no one wants to be made to feel uncomfortable, especially by their friends. Which is, I think, very relatable. That's definitely my goal when I'm playing games. Yeah, Alexander the So-So, Watership Down is dark. Yeah. And Watership Down is pretty dark. Redwall, I think, is a little bit less than, but also has, like, you know, animal death and like, you know, their knights and things like that.
I've seen a bit of Redwall, but I haven't seen Watership Down. Alexander the So-So is actually my spouse.
I thought that was the case, and I was like, I can't remember, and I don't want to say if that's not true.
That is, and so I think he's the one, like, and I think you're the one that showed me, like, the scene from Watership Down, and I'm just like, what is this? And it was like around the time we were either looking at getting Kiko our bunny rabbit, or like right like before or after And so I was just like, no, why are you showing me this?
Yeah, I've never watched. I've seen clips of Water Shut Down. I've never read it or watched it. I just know like the kind of
beginning.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Redwall I did read a lot of. Redwall does have the best description of food ever. Or like even like Warrior Cats. Like I never read Warrior Cats, but that one also is one that's like pretty violent, and you could play something like that with this. But you also don't have to. Like the way I run Mouse Ritter, like Mouse Ritter can be like super lethal and is kind of a more old school game. And I don't play it quite as like gritty as it's kind of written to be. So I guess basically it sounds like what you're saying is that like general like combat stuff is fine because everyone's playing like it's not like someone's hurting like a helpless animal. It's like everyone's playing sentient creatures that have like their own agency kind of. I'm assuming this is normally how I play. I haven't looked at anybody's lines and veils yet because I don't know if everyone's sent them in yet. But generally avoid like gore and that kind of stuff. So I would still be doing that. I'm not going to be super gory descriptions of things, even if there is combat. I did run Mouse Ritter for Melanie, Tig, and Mike, and they did have a TPK. And I did feel really bad about it. I felt very bad about it. It was a very fun session, and then it went really bad, really fast, and all of their characters died. Okay, so safety. Okay, so we talked about that. The other thing I guess I'll talk about, which this one, that I'll just mention, and Mila, you can chime in with whatever thoughts you have about it. But the other safety tools I use, we've already mentioned one, which is lines and veils. So before I even have a session with people, I have a form that I send that's, what are people's lines, what are people's veils. Lines are hard boundaries, things that we don't want to have included in the game at all. So not in anyone's backstory, not happening on screen, not a part of the world, or like, if somebody put like murder as their line or something, like maybe somewhere in the world there's murder, but it's not going to be addressed in the game whatsoever. Veils are things that people are okay with having referenced or with being a part of the world or being a part of the story, but not something that we're like delving into. So maybe it could be a part of someone's backstory, but not an active part of the campaign. Maybe it could be something that happens, but is kind of a fade to black or not dwelt upon. So I'll use one of my things for an example. Eye injuries really freak me out. But if I was playing and somebody was like, oh, I'm gonna, aim at someone, like aim at someone's eye with a weapon or something, I wouldn't, like, that would be fine with me. But if someone was like, and this is what it sounds like, and this is what it looks like, that would, like, I would not be a fan of that. So I would consider that, like, eye injuries to be a veil. Something that can happen, it can be, like, if somebody in the game has, like, an eye patch or has some sort of disability related to their eyes, like, that's fine with me. But I don't want to hear, like, graphic descriptions of people getting their eyes injured. And then the other main tool that I use, which I'm actually thinking of switching up, but right now I use the X card system. So if somebody wants to move on from a scene, it's like a yellow X, which basically means like, I don't want to stop playing, but like something's going on in the scene that I'm not like super comfortable with or I'm ready to move on from. And then red X is we need to stop playing, I need to take a breather. Something's going on that I really am not okay with, or, it can mean a variety of things, but basically that we need to, like, stop playing and, like, have a chat or take a break. I'm thinking of switching over to, there's a safety system called Scene Change, I think is what it's called. And basically, like, you would have, like, fast forward, like, pause, like, those kinds of things. And I need to look into it more so I'm, like, more familiar with it before I use it. But that also seems like a very fun safety tool. Very fun. I don't know why I said fun. I do think it's fun. I guess, like, the descriptions, like, click in my head, like, of, like, oh, yeah, fast forward. Like, we want to move on to the next scene. We want to, like, skip over this thing that's happening. But yeah, Mila.
Having safety tools is specifically what makes it fun, is knowing that you can be like, okay, like if I'm not comfortable, like you don't have to be worried about it. You can just be, I'm not okay right now. And then it just gets changed without this like real guilt of like stopping entirely to be like, hey, I'm like iffy on this. So I love them. I think they're wonderful. I'm glad they're more popular.
Yeah, I think they're really fun too. I had some tweets about this actually, but like when I first started using safety tools, I viewed them like positively. It's not like I would like thought they were bad or something, but viewed them as like these are like boundaries and like no's, which is what they are. But then as I was like using them more, I was like, well, this is actually kind of nice, because if I know in advance what people's boundaries are, I know what people are cool with. So like if I was running something and I wanted there to be like something that might not be okay with everyone, but like everyone has already listed like this is what my boundaries are. Like a really common thing for people is as a line or a veil is like harm to children or like threat of harm to children. So if I was running game and everybody was cool with like children in danger being a theme, then I can have a thing where like somebody gets kidnapped and like that's a thing that's cool, everyone's fine with it. And I just think that's nice, because then you don't need to obviously you still need to check in with people all the time, because people can have forgotten to put something, or like people's, you know, comfortabilities with things change. But as someone who worries a lot of like hurting other people's feelings or like doing something that's like off-putting to people, it's nice to have it just like laid out, like this is what I'm not cool with, this is what I'm cool with, and then I don't have to like be in my head after a session going like, oh, I had this thing happen and I hope everyone was fine with that. Like chances are people are fine with it if they didn't put it as a boundary.
For me as a player, especially like on stuff on like your streams, for example, I don't really know the other players very well. So like when I'm playing with friends, like I know like, okay, don't bring this up because this person doesn't like that. But like I don't know what they're okay with. And so having a list of just like this is like not okay means okay, I can do all this other stuff, which is also just very freeing as a player who doesn't know necessarily super well the other people, which is it's nice. It's relaxing because again, it's not like, oh, did I say the wrong thing? Like, did I do the wrong action? Like, are they upset? Because that's the last thing I want to do. So it's freeing in a weird way of not having to dwell on that necessarily. Like, you know exactly kind of like what's okay and like what's not.
Yeah, and the way that I do lines and veils is I have an anonymous form, a Google form that it's really simple. It just says, what are your lines, what are your veils? And the beginning of the form has like examples, as well as like my personal lines and veils of things that I just don't include as a GM. And then I get all of the forms and then I put them into a list. And then at the beginning of the session, before we get on stream, we have it in the Zoom chat and I send it to everyone. I verbally go over all of it, make sure everyone knows. So that way, like, obviously there are things that people have that are like trauma that like maybe people aren't comfortable saying, like, hi, my name's Taylor and this is my trauma. So having it be an anonymous form I think is nice, because then you don't, at least for me, like when I've submitted lines and veils that way, I feel like, okay, like, you know, if there's something that I feel like is a little bit private, then it's not immediately like, oh, this is Taylor. I wonder why she, you know what I mean? Like, I don't play with anyone who's like that, but I know like when you have something that you aren't comfortable with in role play, I don't know, like the whole thing you could just get in your head a little bit about. So that's why I like to run it that way. So this book, I think it's really cool that that Briar and Bramble has a whole section on player safety, and they talk about specifically, which is up on screen right now, talk about in a world where once a cute woodland creature, animals are going to get hurt. The grim reality of the animal world is on full display, and it's good to like check in with people about that. And then it also goes on to describe lines and veils, which we were just talking about. And then also the X card, which is another one that I mentioned. And I want to talk about that on character creation, because most of the time I don't normally do character creation on stream. So people don't see that like I'm using these safety tools. And I think, like, honestly, I feel like probably every game should use some kind of safety tools, even if you're playing with people that you know really well. And that can be different for different people. Like, the X card and Lines and Veils are very popular, but that's by no means, like, the only ones that exist. Yeah. That's all I have for safety tools. Let me see, was there anything else? We did that. We did the playbook. We did the safety tools. We did that. Oh, okay. So, I will next talk about, so I haven't written the one-shot yet, like I said, but I have some basic ideas for, like, kind of what I want to be going on. So I think it's going to be that your community was semi-recently pushed out of their original, like, living space, because I haven't decided, like, all of the details about it, but, like, maybe you lived in a forest or something that was chopped down to make room for, like, a human factory or something like that. And it was pretty recent that this happened. So in the game, your community starts, like the rules say, start with a harmony of +2, which is the only stat that the community has. Since this kind of, like, traumatic thing happened to your community so recently, and because we're playing a one-shot, so, like, if you're playing a campaign, you want to have more resources for everyone to work with. If you're playing a one-shot, you want to have fewer resources for everyone because, like, it's going to be a short game. So I think I'm either going to have the harmony for the community start at 0 or 1, as opposed to 2, because it's already, like, kind of a fraught situation for all of you. And what that means is, when you all fail rolls, it'll mark conflict, and when the community gets to a -1 in harmony, there's a move called Hold It Together. Let me put it over here so I can actually read this. When the community's harmony reaches -1, roll plus harmony. On a 10+, the community will band together for now, and then you increase the harmony by 1. On a 7 to 9, the community immediately devolves to infighting. If this issue can be resolved, increase harmony by 1. On a 6 or lower, if the community has tags, you take 7 to 9 result, and the community loses a tag, so the community wouldn't be protected anymore, or wouldn't be strange anymore. And if the community has no tags, and you get 6 or below for that roll, the community dissolves each creature setting forth to find their new home alone. So I think it's going to be a community that's more, closer to dissolving than staying together, because I think they'll make more interesting stakes for a one-shot. Does that information impact any, like, ideas you have for your character, or, like, give you any ideas for, like, things about your porcupine?
I don't think so. I think the porcupine is, like I mentioned, does really care about the community, so would be very much, like, wanting to keep them all together. But I don't think it being harder would really, like, affect them as much.
It makes sense because you're playing, like, an older character too. So, like, maybe the porcupine has, like, first of all, maybe the porcupine saw it coming, so is not as frazzled. And second of all, maybe has been through, something like this before, or at least has been through a lot. I like that. I like that a lot. My cat is yelling at me. Okay. The other thing I was going to mention, which this is more for people in chat than it is for you and I, Mila. But because this game is being kickstarted, and the Kickstarter is going to be over, I think, like 4 or 5 days after the stream. Let me see. The stream's on the 25th. Oh, a little bit more than that. A week after the stream. And the Kickstarter's over on October 1st. I wanted to have something to incentivize people to kickstart this game. So It's kind of tough because at first I was like, oh, I'll do a thing where if somebody tweets me a screenshot of them backing the Kickstarter, they'll get an entry in a giveaway. Like, I'll get something and then I'll give it away. But I think that would be technically illegal. Because, like, there are all these rules for, like, giveaways and stuff like that. Like, you can't have, like, a purchase be required. And I don't know if that applies to, like... Obviously, that would apply to me if it was like, you have to buy something from me to enter this. But I don't know if that applies to other people, and I am nervous about it. So what I think I'm going to do is, if the Kickstarter reaches its goal during the stream, I'll do a giveaway for people in the, like, who are in chat. And I think what it's gonna be is... Oh, I don't have a way to show it on stream, I don't think. But I found on Etsy these dice bags that are these knitted dice bags that look like little mushrooms, and you can pick the color, which this does apply to you, Mila, because you'll be able to, even though you're playing, you can enter. So if the Kickstarter reaches its goal during the stream, I'll do a giveaway for people in the stream. So like how I normally would do giveaways where you enter a keyword and then I'll send it to you if you win. If the Kickstarter reaches the goal after the stream, I'll probably just do it on Twitter, but then more people will see it. Just by the nature of Twitter, more people would see the giveaway than if people are in the chat. So that incentivizes people during the stream to back the Kickstarter, but I don't think I'm breaking any laws. So that's something fun. And then as usual, I'll have tip incentives, which I think will be 200 bits or $2. You can give +1 to a player character, and for 500 bits or $5, you can give +1 to all 3 characters. That's generally, and I'm not gonna do a $10 one because I don't want to be like too many different things of like, here, there's a Kickstarter, and then there's this, and then there's this other thing. I think that's everything that I wanted to talk about. Is there anything that you want to talk about, Mila, with the character creation, or questions about the game? That's a more direct thing. Do you have any questions about the gameplay, or things that you want to mention about the rules, or anything like that?
I don't think so. Anything that I was a little bit foggy about, I think we kind of like went over. I will say I do think it's a well-written book. I really like how everything's set up. It's very easy to make a character while also being like very vague in like a good way, of there being like a lot of like leeway to kind of like do your own thing with the character, which I really like. Mm-hmm. It's a lot less constrained than like, you know, D&D or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was, I really like it as a real book. I just wanted to plug that in there.
Yeah, I think, like, again, like, you could, which I'm not saying anyone should do this, but you could go to itch right now and get this game for free. Like, it's pay what you want, including free, and that's wild to me because it is, like, a fully fledged, like, very well-written rule book, and that's why I really... and also the Kickstarter, like, backing things are also very reasonable. So it's in pounds, but it's like for £5, I think it's for £5, it's a credit. For 10, they also, which I think this is very cool, included a £10 level for, actually, let me just pull, instead of paraphrasing, let me just pull up the Kickstarter, so I'm not getting anything wrong about it. Briar Bramble Kickstarter, okay, so there's 9 days to go on the project. For £1 or more, you are, you know, it's the general, like, low level one where it's like, oh, you get, you know, the gratitude of the community. For £10 or more, which would be about $14 USD, Kickstarter is telling me, it's Hedgehog, and it says this option is intended for lower income and or marginalized members of the tabletop RPG community. You'll get the full art PDF of Briar and Bramble, as well as all the handouts needed to play, and your name listed with the other backers in the Kickstarter supporters section of the book. And that level is the same rewards as the 15-pound level. And I think it's really cool to have something where it's like specifically for like marginalized or like lower income people who want to back the Kickstarter. I think that's like a very cool thing to do, and I don't think I've seen that in Kickstarters before. And then for 25 pounds or more, which is about $35 US, you get the hardback copy of the full art version of Briar Bramble, shipping not included. But still, for $35, you get this full art, game, that I think is a really good, fun game, and I'm excited to play it. So let me put this, I'll put this link in the chat.
As well. Especially going through it, I was reading through the rules, and I'm going, and it keeps and I didn't look at the page number, but it keeps going, and I'm like, oh, this is like a full book, because the last game I played was Lasers and Feelings with you, and it's one page, and I'm just like, there's so much. Like it's a full book, and seeing it with art, like full art, is gonna be like, it is gonna be gorgeous.
Yeah, because I think it looks like, I don't know if this is true, so I don't know if I should say it, but the art examples in the Kickstarter look very similar in style to this cover. So I want to say it's the same artist, but if not the same artist, it looks very similar, which I think this cover art is gorgeous. I really like this cover art a lot. But yeah, I think that's like everything. I guess I can mention, maybe I'll mention like the basic moves, because we talked about your specific moves that you took. So the basic moves, I'm not going to read through like all of it, but just to mention so that people kind of get a feel for the game a little bit. So there's specific community moves. So when you have your specific community move, like for example, the one that Mila just assigned is, the move is put off others from joining due to how like strange the community is. So that's a move. If somebody wanted to do that, they would roll plus harmony, which is the community stat. Engage a foe. When you engage with a hostile opponent, roll plus fierce. Fight or flight. Which this one I really like the failure, because not most of them, the 6 is like the default for Powered by the Apocalypse is that the narrator gets to make a move or, choose a harder outcome or like all these different things. But for fight or flight, the failure is you must either freeze or flee your choice, which I think is very cool. Very fits narratively with like the animal thing. You can also help or hinder, and it's the same roll. You roll plus relationship, which I haven't mentioned that yet. We'll get into that like on the day of the stream, but there's also relationship stats. There's a hide move, there's a lay of the land move, there's a negotiate, there's stay safe, and voice of authority. And those are moves that any player can do. And then every player also gets their 2 additional moves for their playbook, which I think is very cool. I think they're all very, like, the flavor of them is good, and then the way that it, like, interacts with roleplay I like a lot. So I think this will be very fun. Melanie says, oh, you're gonna be driving on Saturday. Well, you'll have to watch the VOD. Which actually I need to get some other VODs up on YouTube, because I think Wizard Palace is the next one I need to get up. Yeah, I think that's everything that I had to talk about. Are there any other closing thoughts that you have, Mila, or anything that you want to discuss about this game or your character? Oh, did you think of a name for your character yet?
Yeah, I was thinking Gizem.
Gizem. How do you spell that?
Gizem or Zem if you're not.
I can understand that. I don't personally.
I have had. When I was in the States, I said Zed to someone, and they literally looked at me very confused, and I'm confused because they're confused about something very clear. And then I was like, oh, Z. And they're like, oh, I didn't know you had a different way.
That's so funny. I am familiar with
I'm
Zed.
so confused.
Yes. I had a philosophy professor in college who was Canadian and would say Zed, and would always like make a big deal that he was saying it when he was spelling something. He would always be like,
so this is just a thing we do apparently.
No
you know,
Z,
I did that.
only Zed. Okay,
I did have to train myself to say Zed, because I'd always say Z because it's easier, and so my mom would always be like, "It's Zed."
So you're all being indoctrinated. In
We
Canada
are, yeah,
to
that's
be
it.
defensive about Zed. I forgot how. The only letter I remember now in your character's name is Zed. So how do you spell it?
Gizem.
EM. Okay, cool. And do you know pronouns for your character?
I kind of want them to. No one's really sure.
No one.
Like they probably have them, but everyone's just kind of like,
I like that
"Ma'am," and then they'll respond like, "Fine," because like they just don't care.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, oh, "Okay," and then people will be like, "Sir," and they'll be like, "Okay, yeah." And it's like,
I like that a lot. Okay, so no one is really sure of their pronouns. Probably for the sake of, well, I guess this is up to you. When I do the overlay, I like to have the pronouns. So, should I put any pronouns in that for Gizem? Because I don't think I can fit "no one is really sure of their pronouns" just on the. I don't know if I can fit it to be legible.
all pronouns they respond to all pronouns, so it's good.
Cool. I'll put for all pronouns. Cool. So we've got Gizem. And then the character that Rosh created, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, is a ferret with the Guardian playbook, and their character's name is Kahu, or Kahu? Kahu. I think it's Kahu. Emphasis on the first syllable. And we also, because I mentioned, they were asking about like the world and stuff like that, so I was talking about like, well, this is like what the rule book says, and like probably what I'm going to be going off of, like turn of the century England, and I was like, but like, your characters don't have to have like British accents or anything like that, or like be British because you're animals. Like I don't know that animals would have British accents if they were in England. Like they can have whatever accent they want, really. And so then Rosh was like, "Oh, should I have like a British name for my animal?" And I was like, "I don't think so. Like I don't really know that you would." And so Rosh came up with Kahu. But then also was like, well, I'll have a British Sona, like, just in case. Because they also asked about, like, last names, and I was like, I don't know what people are going to pick. Like, I don't really have a preference. So they picked for their ferret the British Sona of Birch Fairfox Caldwell. It's the British Sona of their ferret, which I love. So I don't know how that'll...
so much.
I don't know if or how that will come into play, but I do like it. Which then got me thinking about, Mila, have you ever seen The Great Mouse Detective, like the Disney movie?
Oh yeah.
It got me thinking about that, of how in The Great Mouse Detective, there's a mouse named Basil, who is basically the mouse Sherlock Holmes, but he's not named Sherlock Holmes. And he has an assistant mouse who's, I forget what the assistant mouse's name is, but it's not Watson. It's not John Watson. It's something else. But they live in Sherlock Holmes's house, which is so wild. Like, the world building implications of that would be that, like, every mouse that lives in someone's house is a version of them. Like, I would have mice that live in my house, and their name is like Tyler, and they play tabletop games about like being humans or something. Like, I just love the world.
I love that idea. Like, I feel like it would be like, oh, you would hear the person like talking about something, and you'd be like, oh, that sounds so cool, and just get like really into it.
I guess that is what it's supposed to be in the movie, is just that this mouse is like, oh, I like Sherlock Holmes is so cool, and I'm around him all the time, so...
I like the idea of like it being an obligation though, like they like you're just predetermined to be like the human, or you're predetermined to be like the mouse.
Yeah,
we don't know exactly how this works.
Oh my gosh.
But like it's forced.
It's a dystopian mouse future where every mouse has to take on the identity of the human whose house they live in. It's very dark. It's
so
dark and nightmarish. Okay.
Amazing.
Let's see who else is live right now. So I can see who we can raid. On that note. Melanie is coming in with her British son, and she decided on Criminy Bumberthumb. So that's something. It sounds like when someone's trying to say Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yes, totally.
Criminy Bumberthumb. Also, I'll probably use this mug the day of too, but my mom got me this this Robin Hood mug, and the other side says oodalali, oodalali, golly, what a day.
Oh, I love that. She clarifies Crimothy.
Oh, what did I say?
Criminy?
Oh, I thought I said Crimothy. I'm doing all sorts of things, and then Melanie is like, I already... Apparently, she already warned me that I was encroaching on someone else's intellectual property, and I didn't notice. I'm saying Crimothy wrong. Okay, let's see.
We'd have another Opal fiasco.
Yeah. Yeah, except for this time, Critical Role will be coming after me.
Yes.
Let's see. Nobody that I'm following is live right now, which I'm kind of surprised by. Let me see. Let me check this out. Actually, Mila, is there anybody that you're following that's live?
No.
Okay. Well then let me go to my second thing that I do. Which is... this muted? Is this website muted? Yes, it is. Okay, we are going to raid Everaqua, who is in a Discord that I'm in. And I don't think they play tabletop RPGs on their stream, but they do play them in general. And it looks like they're playing some kind of visual novel, which I like. So we're gonna go ahead and give them a raid. So let me put in the raid command. Is this the right name? I believe so. Oh wait, is it case sensitive? I can never remember. No, it's not.
It looks like it's working.
It looks like it's happening. Cool. So we are going to raid Everaqua. If you have emotes, you can copy and paste this raid message. If you don't have emotes, you can just copy and paste. You know what? I'm actually gonna do this. You can just copy and paste what I just put in chat. But I am gonna be streaming tomorrow. I'm probably gonna be playing Phoenix Wright. Probably everything's out of whack now because I was on vacation, so normally I would have played Phoenix Wright tonight and done tabletop stuff tomorrow, but I might just switch it. And then on Saturday, make sure you come back to this channel to see Mila playing, already forgot your character's name, Gizem. Oh, and also, Kahu, Rosh playing Kahu, and then Momo, who's our third player, playing a character that I'm going to create with them later on tonight. So definitely check that out. That'll be 6:30 Eastern. And, oh, the other thing I haven't even mentioned is that all of us are in different time zones. All the people playing are in different time zones. And not just, like, slightly different time zones, drastically different time zones. Oh, I need to put the raid. Okay, I'm gonna raid now. Bye, everyone.